At the top, Alabama. And we can talk about Alabama and how it has affected 3 different programs. So Nick Saban decides to retire last week. And what are we doing? We're talking about Kalen DeBoer leaving Washington to go to Alabama. We're talking about Jedd Fisch leaving Arizona to go to Washington. And we're talking about Brent Brennan leaving San Jose State to go to Arizona. So these are 3 programs who, because their head coaches left for other jobs, have an open window of 30 days for all those players to enter into the transfer portal at a time when the transfer portal is closed to everybody else. Just kind of sucks for those programs, and particularly those fans, because there's only one way. They can leave whenever they want. This is very important when we're talking about a safety like Caleb Downs, right? Who at the time of this taping is still a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide. But we'll see, right? I also think that if you're Washington, this is brutal. This sucks because you don't have the branding and the cachet of Alabama, and you certainly don't have Nick Saban hanging around. But you are still going to lose these guys into the portal with Kalen DeBoer choosing to go to Alabama. Asa Turner, Will Rogers, Ethan Barr, Michelle Powell, Trey Watson, Jabbar Muhammad, one of the better corners in all of football. They lost 10 guys that rate as 3 stars or better in the 247 Sports Composite. That's difficult to overcome, especially when you can't immediately go get those guys and replace them, okay? Jedd Fisch has work to do. And that's even if he succeeds in getting Noah Fafita to leave Arizona to join him at Washington. But if you are Noah Fafita, do you need to go to Washington? Do you need to stay at Arizona? There are lots of other places that would love to have you, including a couple of Big Ten teams, UCLA, USC. Throw it out there. He hasn't made a decision as of this taping, but that was the freshman All-America at quarterback, and for good reason. Led them to a 10-win season, took apart Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl, gave USC everything it wanted, gave Washington everything it wanted, won a bunch of games that they shouldn't have because that dude was able to come off the bench and be elite for them. It's going to be difficult for Jedd Fisch and that staff, but I think come August, they're going to have a pretty competitive football team. Next on the list of losers, after we get past those 3, Washington, Arizona, and Alabama, got to talk about Colorado. Okay. So there are 2 Power 5 programs with 22 transfers in. One is Texas A&M. One is Colorado. The reason that Colorado makes this list is because of those 22, I count just 2 that were starters at FBS programs as offensive linemen, and I count just 1 Power 5 starter at offensive lineman. You're not going to sway me talking about skill players at Colorado anymore. They got them. They're good. Matter of fact, I'm going to mention one they added. LaJohntay Wester had 108 catches for 1,100 yards at Florida Atlantic last year. Cool. Jimmy Horn was great last year. Xavier Weaver was great last year. Amario Miller came out of nowhere. Travis Hunter goes both ways. Dylan Edwards is still back there. You don't need skill guys. You need men that can protect Shedeur Sanders in this all-important last season of college football for him. Now, there are, to Prime's credit, 5 offensive linemen that he has picked up through the portal. All right? Tyler Johnson out of Houston. UTEP, Justin Myers, UConn's Yakiri Walker, Indiana's Khalil Benson, and FIU's Phillip Houston. But are those guys better than what you had? Now, I think he would tell me, yeah, they are, because I went to go get him. But that remains to be seen. Because Shedeur was not only getting sacked a bunch, he wasn't able to finish the football season. And if that guy just gets a little bit of time, he's going to be able to take apart other defenses because he is going to get rid of the football. As a matter of fact, he would get rid of the football at Jackson State, not unlike Michael Penix Jr. would get rid of the football at Washington. He wasn't looking to hold it and go down through his progressions. If he saw somebody open, he wanted to get it through him and he was going to throw them open. He didn't have that much time at Colorado as they got further and further into the season. So I think you're going to have to either show me that these guys have developed quite a bit, and then you're probably going to start a true freshman at tackle in Jordan Seaton. Now, Jordan Seaton is a 5-star offensive lineman. He is one of the most talented linemen in the country. But that's asking a lot of a true freshman. Now, Kelvin Banks was able to do it last year, took a step back this year, right? Caden Proctor was able to do it at Alabama this year, but wasn't really great. It's good. But that's just one position. Let's assume Jordan Seaton plays at an All-American level. You still got to have 4 other guys that can protect Shedeur Sanders. So that's what I'm going to be watching. And you're not going to know anything about that until they start playing football in the fall. Spring football is not going to show us anything about this offensive line or the defensive line for that matter. But they're always going to have skill players. Skill players are always going to show up to prime. It's can you go get offensive linemen? And one of the things that I would always point to when people ask me about who's getting good or whether or not their team is going to be okay or whether or not they should be worried about another team is I would ask, can you name the offensive linemen that are going to start for you on your football team? Can you name how many of those guys you had to go into the portal to go get? Usually you don't, right? You don't need to go into the portal, and you can name the guys that can protect your quarterback because they're that important to the success of your football team that you know their names. This is what they had at Michigan. You know Zach Zenter's name, right? You know Trevor Keegan's name. You know Ladarius Henderson's name. We can keep going, right? That's the point here. You need names that we care about on your offensive line if you expect it to be good. And not for nothing, Shedeur Sanders deserves a great offensive line, man. Like, all the endorsements aside, walking the fashion show at Louis Vuitton, he's a great quarterback. And I want to see him have the opportunity to go at other teams. Just give him 2 seconds. Give him 2 claps. Give him 2 claps. He's going to be all right. All right. That is going to do it for today's episode of the #1 college football show. We will be back live next Tuesday at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.